very short title. The main thing is the idea came largely from speaking to Suchi, and she was talking about her work in Campaign for Greener Healthcare, and there's a lot of work sort of around how to make clinics more sustainable, including work with nephrology clinics, how to educate the workforce about having more sustainable healthcare. Because as we're all aware, that climate change is said to be potentially the biggest threat of the 21st century. And there are a series of articles in The Lancet last year that sort of outlined the various problems that we might face. And these are obviously global problems, including problems with migration, problems with food and water supply, unpredictable weather patterns, floods and droughts, and changes in disease vectors and so forth. But we also need to, with a focus with the media and climate change has largely been things that for the general public, they don't feel that this is relevant to them. Things about polar bears dying because ice caps are melting, and deforestation and so forth. And what we need to do is focus the agenda of climate change on public health, because it will inevitably affect public health. And one of the ways to do this is to engage medical students, junior doctors, nursing staff, and other staff within the NHS about the contribution of healthcare to carbon emissions. Given that the NHS is the fourth largest employer in the world, we have the potential to target quite a lot of people. We would initially start obviously small scale, so engaging medical students and junior doctors in Oxford, and then depending on the success of that, take it further. Through reducing carbon emissions in healthcare, the other offset the Campaign for Greener Healthcare has sort of promoted is that it's likely to have improved financial sustainability, because if you're producing less waste, inherent in that is you're sort of reducing costs. Potentially, obviously depending on the way that you go about doing that. And there are some co-benefits to tackling climate change. For example, encouraging people to cycle more is an example of that. And in the medical curriculum, we're often taught in a very sort of medical model way of thinking. So you look at an individual patient, you look at disease patterns and sort of investigations and management, and we often don't have enough focus on public health in general and population health. And especially one of the things that's sort of lacking at the moment is a focus on the impact of climate change on health. And as we know, the NHS is aiming to reduce its carbon emissions by 80% by 2050. And in order to do this, we do need to engage the workforce. So the way we thought about going about this with Suchi is to produce a video. Something's already been produced by Australian medical students, and that's quite a sort of a video broadly outlining the impact of climate change on health. But we thought that a video that has more about the impact of sort of talking with more of an NHS focus might engage the workforce more. So we've already spoken to some medical students who are very enthusiastic from the Oxford Global Health Group, and they would be happy to volunteer to help produce a video. And the other thing we're hoping to do is engage some media students from Oxford Brookes, because they have quite a large range of courses focusing on sort of technology-based courses, and they also have quite a large media centre which would help us to produce a video, and they would have free access to that. And what we would aim to do is then show this video in sort of lecture theatres, see what the feedback is like, see whether people's knowledge is improving, and then scale up the project from there to sort of teach junior doctors through the use of this video about the contribution of healthcare to carbon emissions and what we can do to change that. Other pieces of work that might complement this are things like waste audits, looking into sort of individual wards and where a lot of waste is being created. And given that 60% of carbon emissions are from the NHS as a result of procurement, One of the other things we could do is look at the journey of things like surgical equipment and see where the waste is coming from. So the resources that we would require, obviously media equipment to produce a video, volunteers to help do this, and we're already in the process of engaging the students. The next steps we need to take is contact course organisers and directors, see if there's something that they would be willing to show to their students, because of, we need to get slots in and quite early if possible. And we would quite like to produce a website to show this video so it's available to the general public. So we're aiming to do this sort of as early as possible. We've already started speaking to the students, and we're aiming to form a committee of people to produce this video by October time, so within the next few weeks. We would nominate people to speak to the relevant course administrators from the medical student curriculum side, foundation doctors, teaching, and so forth. And then arrange dates in which to show the video. We would try to collate some feedback about whether people thought that it was effective, whether it has altered their attitudes, whether it will alter their practice day to day to try and reduce waste, and then try and improve the video before scaling it up further. So that's a broad outline of the idea.
Can I jump to that point where you go and see course organisers and curriculum directors and so on and so forth, and give you two questions they might ask. One is, this is an important issue, increasingly recognised. The medical school training is fairly regulatory now, competency based.
Yeah.
So the question will be, why is this issue not already on the national curriculum? So that's one question. Okay. The other would be, and quite naturally, given that the scope of the medical curriculum is fairly prescriptive and competency orientated, what would you like us to draw from medical school curriculums to do this?
Well, the GMC has actually recently changed what they think a new cohort of doctors should know about, and climate change awareness is actually one of the things that's starting to enter the agenda of the GMC. So it actually would be quite relevant, because it's actually a change they're going to have to make anyway, and this, if anything, will facilitate that, because it's providing them with resources that they're going to need to develop. So I would try and approach it from that angle. In terms of what they need to drop from the curriculum, I think this would probably complement the public health module. And I don't think there's anything that needs to be dropped, because it would be quite a short thing. And the video would only sort of last a question of 10 minutes, and then we would add in sort of 20 minutes talk. So I don't think it would occupy so much of the curriculum. This in itself, obviously, if they want to expand that further, that's a different matter. But this in itself, I don't think would occupy so much time in the curriculum that they really do need to drop anything. And it is something I think they're going to have to develop anyway. So I think we might actually facilitate that.
I've never tried to change the curriculum in 35 years. When I first came, I thought of it, and then I thought, oh gosh, the curriculum. You know, the people fight over the hours like the Goths fighting over the virgins. You know, it's everything you try and do, the competition and everything. And anyway, I felt medical students are overtaught, so I spent my time. There was no funded continuing professional development. But just question the model here. You see. First, I mean, the charity will help you do something, but supposing this, I mean, videos are very, as one young person said to me, so 2010 to talk about video. Now, supposing you had a YouTube movement of naked medical students against climate change, or the funniest YouTube that a medical student could make about, because you've got to be naked because it's all going to be warmer or something, you know, where you would start to get, you need eyeballs, and you could do, I'll give you a meter flip, 140 pounds, I don't know if you know what a meter flip is, I'm not technological at all, but a meter flip is a little camera made by Cisco, or bought now by Cisco, and you click the button and the USB port pops out, and you stick it in, you're on YouTube. So, I think we should try and do something, but you know, the problems of you've described are killer questions, really. You know, you spend a lot of time doing it, and I think the new technology, I mean, UsePoint, I mean, every mobile phone you could see it, couldn't you? And 2 minutes is a long time. I mean, I spoke for far too long. I'd broke it up twice, but people's attention span is shifting, and we might run a YouTube competition or something like that, where you would start to do something. Had you thought of other? I mean, I think this should be tried. There's undoubtedly stuff could be dropped from the curriculum, and this could be there. But yeah, you could spend 2 years of your life and still not make it in terms of the pressures on.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea, actually. The Australian medical students have put their video on YouTube, so I think that would be something that's something we should take forward, actually.
I've got one question. I was very taken. I know the focus is on the media and the video and getting the message and the twist that Mira is giving it about movement. But in terms of the waste audit, which I don't know very much about, what about actually getting something that people could actually use? In other words, about the sustainability of the idea, so that you're teaching them, and maybe not just focusing on one professional group, but a lot of health professionals work together in teams, and they're located in an area, about how you could get together to work together to take forward some of the ideas, like waste audits, or the journey of equipment, or whatever, and enabling them through the product to actually do this and reclaim it for themselves. And that would maybe sustain the idea and actually make it go a lot further.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, actually, again, because I think it would engage the people and actually make them a part of it, rather than you sort of
Yeah,
from
but
above saying this is what you should do.
Prema knows I don't think training's effective unless one of you is being arrested a year. And there might be, again, for visibility, if you look at picking some issue about packaging or the surgical equipment, because we've got, what's his name here, who's a fantastic person, who's done the work on, what's it called, sustainable equipment, or you know what I'm talking about? The ENT surgeon who's doing, he's on an MRC fellowship. He set up this charity about child labour and surgical equipment, showing that a lot of this equipment, the last 5% gets done in Switzerland or Germany, and then the labels put on. But maybe campaigns, movements, I think are very good, in which you're using media, and it might be. I mean, it might be something about you're looking for some badge in the agenda, like social change or something. So you're not introducing a new topic, but you're some lecturer who thinks, oh my God, I've got to go and see these medical students again, and you're offering them something that's on a slot, and that would be another way to do it, wouldn't it? It's you're not trying to change something. Teachers, in my experience, are often desperate for stuff they can use. So that'd be another way to do it, was to prepare something that would be interesting and engage the students, and then find somebody rather than change the curriculum.
I mean, one definite benefit of your proposal is to link up media students or extra medical students with medical students, because you're unlocking one area we have potential problems with, which is getting junior doctors to understand their public health and their population responsibility and advocacy potential. And I think that you hit on quite an interesting route to exploit that.
That's great. Thank you.